Hi everybody, it's Sid from Cool Moviegram, your source for everything about cool film. Now, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate that. Check out my content, like my videos and all the usual stuff. And those of you who are already doing that, thank you very much and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, well, of course, after the rush of February, what can we do? Of course, we're going to be doing some of my more recent acquisitions or purchases of some releases that I've managed to get, of course. And this time around, it is of an 88 films release, which is something that I was surprised that they were able to get a hold of, because it was pretty much stuck with the Weinstein's Dimension movies releases for quite some time, which is, of course, their release of Bodyguard from Beijing, which is, of course, a Jet Li film from 1994, which is directed by Corey Yuen, R.I.P. Of course, it stars Jet Li, Kirsty Chung, Kent Cheng, Colin Chow, Joey Leung, Wai Kwang, and a host of others. And yeah, and of course this was produced by Jet Li as well under his Eastern Films banner. This was also released as The Defender in the early 2000s, when Jet Li was pretty much making waves in Hollywood with films following Lethal Weapon 4, of course. Then it was films like Romeo Must Die, Kiss the Dragon, The One, and a bunch of others. So without further ado, let's just crack on with this. For the plot of the film, I'm just going to be reading off the description on the back of it now. Jet Li stars as Alan Hui Qingyang, a top Chinese bodyguard hired to protect Michelle Yeung, played by Kirsty Chung, who's the girlfriend of a wealthy businessman who witnessed a brutal murder. As relentless assassins close in, Alan uses his exceptional martial arts skills and tactical experience to keep her safe. The assignment turns personal as he forms a personal bond with Michelle, all while navigating a deadly game of cat and mouse with intense action sequences and high-stakes drama in Jet Li's iconic martial arts prowess. Bodyguard from Beijing delivers a thrilling ride, blending heart-pounding action with emotional depth and suspense. Right, okay, my take on this film. Now, yeah, this was pretty much made, like, pretty much Jet Li was doing nothing but pure, period-based Chinese martial arts movies, which, of course, he had done absolutely amazing, you know, with the likes of films such as, like, he had films like the Feng Sayuk movies, of course, and then his star-making role in Hong Kong, which was the Once Upon a Time in China. He did 3 movies at that point. And he had kind of like wasn't really happy with working with Choi Hark at that time. Then he had also done some bunch of movies with Wong Jing, like Last Hero in China, New Legend of Shaolin, I think it was around about the same time, and Kung Fu Cult Master. I mean, some of these films were successful, some weren't. And he'd also done like I think it was Tai Chi Master with Yuen Woo-ping, which he had also produced himself, which was also released as Twin Warriors by Dimension. This was released as The Defender. And this was like his foray into like a modern day action movie, and they wanted to kind of make something that was more suited towards Jet Li, so he was able to kind of like display his action and have like more of a modern day feel to it, setting it in like a kind of a more contemporary setting. And I would say, Corey Yuen did his absolute, did like a really good job. I mean, the screenplay itself was written by John Chan and Gordon Chan. I mean, Gordon Chan had also just about finished Fist of Legend with Jet Li, even though that film wasn't really well received in Hong Kong at the time, but it did get like kind of like praise, which was a remake of Fist of Fury, which was Gordon Chan himself was hesitant to do, but then he had also kind of like come up with the plot and the idea for Bodyguard from Beijing in like a week. whilst kind of like just staying at a hotel. He kind of like just literally just came up with the story, and then they kind of developed a script from it. And it's quite an interesting kind of experience to see this movie. Of course, now unlike the American release of this film, I mean the version we have here is the full Hong Kong version, which is there's no kind of like scenes that were kind of watered down or cut out or kind of like trimmed, so we get to see the full violence in a lot of the action sequences here. And yeah, there are some interesting scenes where you see like Jet Li's interaction with Kirsty Chung's character, who's this kind of like just, you know, she's a teacher, but of course she's kind of like still quite sassy, kind of like she doesn't really like having a bodyguard at the beginning. But then of course you kind of see them kind of both eventually forming like a bond, where Jet Li's character himself is very kind of like, you know, duty comes first, duty at all costs, job before anything else. But then he also is kind of like developing his own feelings towards her as well, but he just kind of like doesn't want to get personal and professional relationships going. I mean, one of my favorite characters in this movie was probably Ken Cheng's character, who's like this kind of local Hong Kong cop who is quite humorous in this, but even though you could tell he has a good heart, and he kind of like does strike like a friendship with Jet Li eventually, Jet Li's character. And he gets like you know, you kind of see his backstory, and he does develop his character quite well in a way. The fact that you see him kind of you know, that he's doing things because he's trying to make money in terms of like to provide for his son's education. And you know, you kind of see that how he's kind of like he's like a ruined man after like a failed marriage, but he's still trying to be a good father by kind of being able to provide and support his son's education. And you know, at the same time, he's also kind of like, you know, caring for Michelle and even her young nephew, who's kind of like just this really kind of cheeky, you know, mischievous little kid. You even get kind of Corey Yuen in a cameo as well, just like a very brief kind of, you know, look away and you miss kind of scene. And yeah, I mean, the action is done really well here. I mean, there's like the shootout at the start of the movie, which kind of like plays out like him kind of protecting a foreign kind of like politician, foreign leader or a diplomat, and also like the Chinese premier is kind of protecting them. Him and like you see all the Beijing bodyguards and stuff. So that was an interesting shootout. And even like he gets to display his kind of kung fu skills in some of the scenes, which is done pretty well, especially with in his fights at the house where he's protecting Kirsty Chung's character, and you kind of see him kind of, you know, at one point taking on a bunch of other kind of security kind of guards, and even at the shopping mall you see him kind of do like, there's like a really good shootout where he kind of protects her from an assassination attempt. And of course, you know, you have that shootout / fight sequence at the end where he's taking on Colin Chow's menacing bad guy and his men, and kind of like the use of like the gas hob, which is quite interesting, quite unique. Never seen that done before in a movie. I mean, there is like light wire work in this film, but overall the action a lot of it is very grounded. It's very much pretty much unlike being like in a fantasy kind of like period setting, because it's in a modern day action kind of scenario. It's all done pretty much, you know, with guns, and there is some elements of martial arts to it, but it is pretty much to do more with contemporary kind of like action sequences. So you don't get to see that much like that many characters flying around. There is some wire work involved, but it's not as extensive as like something like Tai Chi Master or even like the Fong Sayuk movies or anything like that. But overall, you know, it is actually it is a well-directed film. The plot is okay. It's very similar to The Bodyguard, which is the Kevin Costner Whitney Houston movie. You could tell him, even Gordon Chan himself did admit that in an interview, saying that yeah, he did actually, you know, borrow a lot from that movie because he really liked The Bodyguard, and he thought that he would actually kind of like do like his own kind of version, like a Chinese kind of like take on the story, but you know, something a lot more different, you know, make a few changes to the story. But yeah, but it is still quite entertaining, even though the film wasn't a huge success. It was just an average earner. as it was Jet Li's first ever contemporary action movie. Where he's actually not just using martial arts, but he's also, getting to kind of like use guns and whatnot as well. And it was done in an okay way. And I would say, overall, I mean, it's a very basic kind of linear plot, and the action and just the way that it was directed. I mean, it does look really good, especially on this on the Blu-ray release. I think it's also on 4K as well. You can get, but yeah, I mean, I would say definitely the film is. I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. It's definitely worth watching. In terms of you have Sam Green doing an absolutely great job in terms of the artwork. He's kind of got this kind of shiny kind of like kind of slipcase, and it's quite rigid. It's not as flimsy as a lot of the other ones usually tend to be. This one's a bit more kind of like rigid, and of course that's the back, and then it's also got the original Chinese poster artwork. I remember seeing this on the VCD when I first saw this movie from one of the shops that used to be over here. They used to just have nothing but these VCDs, and and of course you've got the Sam Green artwork on the other side as well, so you get it's like a reverse sleeve, and of course you got the disc art, which is pretty much the same, and you also get I love these. You get the poster. So of course you've got the Bodyguard from Beijing, you've got the Sam Green artwork, you've got the original theatrical poster artwork as well. So you've got the lovely Kirsty Chung, and of course the man himself, Jet Li. And if you can, I think it's starting to get a bit dark now, you can see that there's images of Jet Li, kind of like just like little kind of shadowy kind of images of him just posturing with a gun, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, and of course you get the booklets this as well, which is a shame because there's the Dimension artwork when it was released in English, called The Defender, which was, and then of course you've got some great writings in here by Tom Cunliffe, actually, and David West does writing this as well, and of course you got the original artwork again, and yeah, so of course, the special features, of course, is a brand new 4K remaster from the original negatives, a high definition 1080p Blu-ray in 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio. You've got the Cantonese mono, so of course this doesn't have the English dub, which was terrible. I have no affinity with the English dub, so I'd much rather watch the film in the original language with the actual subtitles. You have the optional English subtitles. You got the audio commentary by Hong Kong film expert Frank Zheng, which is a really good one. Really interesting kind of breakdown of the film, and really an entertaining commentary. Really informative too. Well, of course, interview with writer Gordon Chan, which was really really worth watching. You kind of see his experience, explaining his experience of working with Jet Li, not just on Bodyguard from Beijing, but also on the film that he directed, which was Fist of Legend. But he also goes into his own experience of how he got into filmmaking, what inspired him, and how he kind of like got his kind of his turn. And of course you've got and all the original trailer, and also the reversible sleeve, etc., the Sam Green art, and the original poster as well. Yeah, it was this is of course was one of the films that was screaming for a original language release, like getting the 88 treatment or the Eureka treatment, because it's just this film had been getting absolutely horrible treatment from like from the Weinsteins and from Dimension and Miramax, just releasing these really terrible kind of like chopped down English versions with really bad dubs and really kind of like pointless gangster rap music and hip hop, as the background score, which was kind of like just did not feel right at all. Yeah, but overall, I would say if there was more bonus features, this would have got but instead of forced 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. But there isn't much bonus content on the disc apart from like the commentary and the interview and trailer. But probably should have been more. Would have been really interesting. But in terms of presentation and the way the film looks, I would say this is a 4 out of 5 release from 88 Films. Really good, really worth getting this version. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. So anyway, yeah, this was Sid. Let me know in your thoughts, what did you think of this movie, and what do you think of Jet Li's other modern day action movies that he made before coming to Hollywood, sorry. Yeah, okay, this is Sid. I think it's getting a bit darker now. Take care. Thank you.